Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, a show celebrating and questioning one of the most beloved entertainment companies in the world through honest, passionate, and clear-eyed Disney discussions. I'm Jeff DePauli, your entertainment-obsessed host with rose-colored glasses removed. Today in the show, we have the House of Mouse headlines brought to you by LaughingPlace.com, your up-to-date resource for the latest Disney news every day of the week. This episode is being released on August 24th, 2022, and here's what's been going on in the world of Disney recently. The 2022 Disney Legends class revealed, Magic Key Renewals begin at Disneyland, ABC's home economics heading to Disneyland, and more.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
In some sad news, performer Cal David, known to Disney Parks fans as the voice of the iconic Sunny Eclipse, has passed away at age 79. Born David Raskin, Cal was a blues singer, guitarist, and songwriter who first worked with Disney on the Goofy About Health attraction at Epcot's former Wonders of Life Pavilion. He'd later give voice to Sunny Eclipse, the intergalactic lounge singer who can still be seen performing at Cosmic Ray's Starlight Cafe in Magic Kingdom. Our hearts go out to his family, friends, and fans during this difficult time. Over at Walt Disney World, guests visiting the resort early next year may want to take a closer look at their transportation options. That's because the popular Skyliner will be undergoing a brief refurbishment in January. The entire system is currently set to be closed for routine maintenance from January 22nd through the 29th. During this time, bus transportation will be available. So especially if you're staying at Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort, Disney's Pop Century Resort, Disney's Art of Animation Resort, or Disney's Riviera Resort during that week, you may want to put in a call to your travel agent. Hungry guests visiting the Disney parks may have recently noticed prices for some of their food and beverages increasing. Widely, it seems that the cost of fountain drinks at the Disneyland Resort has gone from $4.29 to $4.59 for a regular, and $4.99 to $5.29 for a large. Similarly, bottled beverages at carts around the parks are seeing a 50 cents increase, jumping from $4.75 to $5.25 for assorted Coca-Cola beverages, and from $4.25 to $4.75 for Dasani. Meanwhile, some specific items have also increased. For example, an all-beef hot dog is up 80 cents from $8.99 to $9.79. The Cobb DeVille salad and the Ramones Low and Slow Club at Flo's V8 Cafe each rising $1, and the Unbirthday Mickey Ear Hat Bowl with peaches and cream funnel cake fries going from $15.99 to $17.19. Speaking of funnel cakes, that seems to be one of the biggest price changes at Walt Disney World's Typhoon Lagoon, where prices went from $6.50 all the way to $10. Obviously, these are just a few examples with many more to be found, so be sure to check those menu prices carefully when trying to find the best dining deals at the parks. From August 21st through the 27th, the Walt Disney Company will once again be celebrating World Princess Week. As part of the festivities, earlier this week, Disney released a new video of pop star Brandy performing the song Starting Now at the Disneyland Resort. Meanwhile, at the Disney parks, guests can find special treats, happenings, giveaways, movies under the stars programming at resort hotels, and more. So if you happen to be at the Disney parks this week, keep an eye out for these World Princess Week offerings. As you may recall, this year Disney is moving Disney Plus Day from the streaming service's anniversary to September 8th in a bid to align with the D23 Expo. With that date drawing nearer, the Disney parks have announced some of their celebratory offerings for the day. On the 8th, Disney Plus subscribers and their travel party, with valid admission and reservations, will enjoy access to parks at the Disneyland Resort and Walt Disney World Resorts, as well as Park Disneyland at Disneyland Paris, 30 minutes before regular park opening. Additionally, guests staying in select Walt Disney World Resort hotels and hotels of the Disneyland Resort with valid admission and a reservation will have the opportunity to enter 60 minutes before the regular park opening on that day. Other offerings include special photo ops, themed food, and more. Of course, those not at the parks can check out new offerings on the Disney Plus platform, such as the new film Pinocchio, the streaming debut of Thor: Love and Thunder, the behind-the-scenes feature Obi-Wan Kenobi: A Jedi's Return, and other content. So stay tuned for plenty of Disney Plus Day fun on September 9th. Disney Cruise Line is once again updating its health and safety protocols for some upcoming cruises. Beginning September 2nd, 2022, for sailings departing U.S. and Canadian ports, the cruise line will require guests ages 12 and older to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19, as defined by the CDC, at the time of sailing. Prior to this, the vaccination requirement began at age 5. However, Disney Cruise Line still highly recommends that guests ages 11 and younger be fully vaccinated before sailing. Note that negative tests will still be required for sailing, with the rules of these tests varying for vaccinated and non-vaccinated travelers. For details, be sure to visit Disney's Know Before You Go section on their website. It looks as though Home Economics will be joining the long list of ABC sitcoms to pay a visit to the Disney parks. As the show's official Twitter shares, filming has begun for the Season 3 premiere, which will find the Hayworths heading to Disneyland. In turn, Home Economics will join the long list of shows that have had episodes set at either the Disneyland or Walt Disney World resorts, including Blackish, Modern Family, Roseanne, Full House, George Lopez, Boy Meets World, and more. For full looks back at those episodes and others, be sure to check out the Primetime at the Parks series on Disney Coast to Coast. You can find the Primetime at the Parks playlist by visiting DisneyCoastToCoast.com and looking under the episodes menu. Meanwhile, fans of Home Economics may even get a sneak peek at the episode during the show's D23 Expo panel, taking place on Friday, September 9th. Season 3 of Home Economics will premiere September 21st on ABC. In anticipation of the upcoming release of Star Wars Andor on Disney+, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, will be returning to select theaters this week. The fan-favorite film will play in select IMAX theaters as well as at the world-famous El Capitan Theater in Hollywood beginning August 26th. During showings, guests will also get an exclusive look at Star Wars Andor, which will debut its first 3 episodes on Disney+ September 21st. For showtimes and tickets to these special Rogue One screenings, be sure to visit Fandango.com or your local IMAX theater's website. Disney has reportedly tapped a directing duo to helm a new Big Thunder Mountain Railroad film project. According to Deadline, Bert and Birdie, who worked on multiple episodes of Marvel's Hawkeye, are in negotiations to direct a movie based on the popular Disney Parks attraction. Should the project come to fruition, it would be among other rides and attractions to get movie adaptations, including Pirates of the Caribbean, The Jungle Cruise, and who could forget the Country Bears. In fact, a new Haunted Mansion film is currently in production and set for release on March 10th. Obviously, it is too early for the Big Thunder Mountain movie to have a release date or other details, so stay tuned for future updates. You're not going to believe this, but the price of Disney Plus is going up. During their recent Q3 earning report conference call, the Walt Disney Company officially announced that the new ad-supported tier of Disney Plus would debut in the United States on December 8th. On this date, the price of the ad-free tier of the service will increase to $10.99 a month, while the new version with the ads takes over the $7.99 a month price point. Also notable is that while current Disney Bundle subscribers will be able to keep a plan that included ad-free Disney Plus and Hulu with ads, future subscribers will need to choose between a package with ads on both or neither platform. So keep an eye on your Disney streaming bill as this December date approaches. And now it's time to bring back Kyle Burbank from TheLaughingPlace.com. Hello, Kyle.
Hey, Jeff.
Feels like it's been 2 weeks since I've seen you.
Weird how that feels, right?
Not 2 weeks since I've talked to you, though. Thankfully,
that's true.
The talk and texts continue. But let's jump into some Disney news because let me just start with Kyle. Don Hahn is going to be a Disney legend, as he should have been a very long time ago.
I see. That's one of those we were talking last time about the use of the term Disney legend, and that's one where you probably could have gotten away with saying it and no one would have questioned it, but now it's actually official.
Yeah, now I actually, of course, I tweeted and posted about this when it was announced. I was very, very excited for him, and a lot of people's response were, wait a sec, he wasn't a legend? I'm like, I know, right? And I texted Don, and he is very humbled by the award and such, and I'm so happy for him. Listen, I've talked about it plenty of times. I have very mixed feelings about the Disney Legend Awards. I think there are some people who get it for the right reasons, and then other marketing situations.
Christian Aguilera.
Wow, you really hate the Christina Aguilera one.
No, I just know that that's one that people make fun. Well, it's mostly from my friend who's like a hardcore Britney, whatever Britney fandom
Spears.
is called.
Yeah, that's hilarious. But yeah, so, he's one of the ones that I'm like, yeah, he should be a Disney legend. Like, for me, a lot of it, I know, comes down to the amount of time. Like, I get that there are projects like Frozen that, perhaps it was one project or two, but it made a massive impact dollar-wise. For me, it's longevity. That's just kind of how I go. But, I don't vote. I don't make the rules. We will get through the list. But I just had to start with Don Hahn. So excited for Don.
Yeah, I will say before we go through this list, it was nice to see that amidst all these celebrities, there are still some like rank and file, for lack of a better term, like people who've put, regular people at Disney. And not that Don Hahn counts as that, but there were some other, like the people that might be lesser known to the general public.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there always seems to be like a bit of a tier system. Like, these are the people who really deserve the Disney Legends, and then here are the ones that, like, the public will care more about.
Here's how we'll get you to come to the ceremony to celebrate the other people.
Exactly. So, we should mention it is the 35th anniversary of Disney Legends. The Disney Legends Award is given to an individual who has made an extraordinary contribution to the Disney legacy, and this year's honorees include... I'm going to go through this list. Anthony Anderson from Blackish, mostly known. Kristen Bell. There's a whole bunch of Frozen here. Kristen Bell from Frozen. Chadwick Boseman, getting it posthumously. Robert Coltrane from Walt Disney Imagineering. Patrick Dempsey from, I guess, Enchanted and more notably for Disney Grey's Anatomy. Bob Foster, who worked with Legal and I guess was a big part of acquiring the land for Walt Disney World, which I think is a really interesting one. We get Jonathan Groff, Josh Gad from Frozen, Don Hahn, the amazing producer of classics like Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Doris Hardoon from Walt Disney Imagineering, Idina Menzel from Frozen, Chris Montan, who worked for Walt Disney Music, Ellen Pompeo from Grey's Anatomy, and Tracy Ellis Ross from Blackish. And that is the list. Is there any other than Don that pop out for you? And or what do you think of the Frozen cast getting this award?
I think it makes sense. Each of them has also done other things for Disney since, mostly. So I think that's fair. The Ellen Pompeo one, you're like, oh, well, she's just on Grey's Anatomy, but she's been on for 20 years now or whatever. So I think these make sense. And then, yeah, it's more about the impact of the project than the longevity, I think. Like Blackish had a solid run, like 9 seasons, but it was also, I think groundbreaking is like a little too strong, but it was very acclaimed and has a legacy. And then obviously Chadwick, wasn't in a ton of projects for Disney, but lost way too soon. And just the cultural impact of the Black Panther franchise is obviously huge. So.
And Chadwick is the only Marvel representation here, and we have no Lucasfilm representation, I believe. So that's interesting. Mm-hmm.
But also kind of to your point about the longevity versus the number of projects, in my mind, it's when people start making their way around the franchise. It's like, oh, now that they've done a Marvel and a Star Wars and a Disney, they're on their way. That's what it was when Favreau announced Mandalorian and Lion King. That was like, oh, he's on his way. And sure enough, that came true. So,
yeah. Is there anybody you were expecting to see this year that didn't get it?
I feel like we were talking about one that we were like,
Joe Rody.
Oh, interesting.
Joe Rody and also Kevin Rafferty, who recently
Kevin
retired.
Rafferty was one that I think worked with one of the people on this list a lot.
Oh, yes. With, I think, was it Robert Coltrane, I believe?
I think so.
Yeah, who he worked with on the try. So yeah, I was a little surprised at those two. Those are two heavy hitter names that have recently retired. Maybe too recently? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think, this isn't always the final list. Sometimes there's surprise ones. Sometimes there's ones that get added a little bit before. I mean, especially given the ongoing pandemic, they do have a thing about people being there in person. So there might be a few that they have extended offers to that they're just waiting to confirm availability.
Yeah. I think there will definitely be a surprise or two. come the day of the awards. And I should mention, if you're into the Disney Legends, you should listen to episode 633 of Disney Coast to Coast. We talked all about the 2019 Disney Legends, but also just kind of about the Disney Legend Award in general. And it was an interesting conversation if you're super into that. If you're into Don Hahn the way I am, you can listen to episodes 236, 237, 409, and 755 of Disney Coast to Coast, of which he was all a part of. So...
Did you see Aaron's theory for one of the surprises?
Yeah, he thinks some additional cast members from Blackish are gonna...
Yeah, Jennifer Lewis, who's also in Princess and the Frog.
I gotta be honest, the only episode of Blackish I've ever seen is the Primetime at the Parks Disney vacation episode.
It's one of those shows I never really watched a lot when it was on, but whenever I've seen it in like syndication, kind of like when we talked about The Middle, it's one of those where I'm like, oh wow, this is surprisingly funny. Like I should get into this.
I will say the awards ceremony was not on my list of things to do at D23, but the Don Hahn thing, I was kind of like, I feel like I should go. So, we'll see if I won't wait several hours in line, but if it becomes part of my reservation, I will go check this out. And I really am so happy for him.
And I'm pretty sure they're going to be streaming it. So
that's true as well.
People at home can watch it. And maybe if you're not in a different panel, you can just sit there in the corner of the expo and watch it.
Yeah, so that is happening.
And that's one that they allow filming in. So you can check, I'm sure Laughing Place and the other sites will have videos of some of the speeches if you want to catch it after the fact.
There are other sites?
From what I hear. I hear rumors of that.
Okay, cool. All right, let's move on to some big news that we were talking about in the last House and Buzz headlines, and we thought the news might break immediately after that episode released, but it actually took a while, and this is about the Disneyland Resort Magic Key Renewals. When did this come out? Just not that long ago, right?
It came out, I think, that following Monday or Tuesday. So, yeah, it took another week after our show, and... let me just say, when you got the news, did you look at that and be like, that took them that long?
Honestly, I didn't even look closely or initially because I'm like, I'm not getting one. Like, that's, so I really didn't care that much. But let's go through the details because those with Magic Keys expiring within 30 days have the opportunity to renew their pass into one of a new slate of options. Most notably, while the Imagine, Enchant, and Believe keys will once again be available to renewing key holders, the Dream Key is now discontinued. So 1 year of a Dream Key, they figured out this doesn't work and it's gone. In its place, the new Inspire Key, they spun their wheel of Disney words. And
exactly.
They're like, Inspire is left. All right. So the new Inspire Key will step into the top tier spot, offering limited block dates during the holiday season. Specifically, Inspire Key holders will not be able to make reservations for dates between December 21st and January 1st. All I'm going to say is, if you're somebody who's ever wanted to go to Disneyland during the holidays and not have it be insane, this is the year to do it. If it's legitimately going to be everybody entering has paid full price for a ticket, the park's going to be dead, right?
I don't know about that, but I think it's
going to be much quieter than previous years, I think.
Yeah, until all the SoCal passes are like, I'll pony up for a 1 day. Why not?
I guess so. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I do feel like if you're buying that top tier, like $150 add-on isn't really probably not very big deal to you. And I feel like there's a bit of ego that comes with that top tier of I can go to Disneyland whenever I want. And so they're not going to
December 21st through January 1st.
Yes. So they're not going to let $150 stop them from going those days, I feel like. But I do think it'll be very interesting to see, what Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, all that stuff looks like at Disneyland. It'll be very, very interesting. Of course, prices for the existing keys have all increased between $50 and $150. The top tier one now, the Inspire Key, is $1,599. That's almost $200 more than the Dream Key was. However, Disney is adding new perks and discounts to certain key types, including 20% off the purchase of Genie Plus. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that. What used to be free 20% discount. Discounts on parking, included PhotoPass downloads for upper tier passes, and more. Now, these new benefits will also be added for existing key holders on August 18th, so that has passed at this point, and lasting until the expiration of their pass. Once again, a monthly payment option will be available to SoCal residents. I will never understand this as long as their whole there's too many people, too popular thing goes, but hey, they keep doing it. Note that current key holders at any level will be able to renew at any available pass level. For example, if an Imagine key holder can choose to upgrade to a Believe key if it's available, while a former Dream key holder can opt to renew at the Enchant key level instead if that's available. On that note, Disney warns that renewals for certain pass types may be paused, meaning that key holders may not be able to select their preferred option. At this time, Disneyland is only focusing on Magic Key renewals and has not announced plans to welcome new key holders. So this is one of those things that, like, if you have a Magic Key and you're on the fence, so many people are going to be like, I gotta renew because I could be shoved out and not let back in.
Oh, yeah. Why do you think I still have D23 founder status? Even though I've never opened one of those magazines in 5 years, it's because they got rid of the other one. I'm like, well, I signed up in 2009 and they're going to send me their gifts in the past few years have been pretty nice. But yeah, I'm like, well, if I cancel, then I'm never going to get that founder status again.
You know, I'm a day one charter member of D23.
Exactly.
And
I got the pin to prove it.
Yeah, I got the pin to prove it. And, you know, I get the gifts every year. I look at them very quickly. I don't spend much time with them. The magazines, I used to read cover to cover. Haven't read them in years. They just keep piling up. I will say they put out a nice magazine. So like one of these days I'll get to it. They usually take a couple hours for me to get through and I'll get to it. But yeah, it's day one charter member. That is a hard thing to let go of.
I really wish they'd bring back the silver edition where you didn't get the magazine. You just basically paid for access to the stuff and to keep your status.
See, I like the magazine though, to be honest. Like,
I mean, it'd be nice if I open it. I just feel bad. I feel so wasteful.
Yeah, although the next one has Hocus Pocus 2 on the cover, so I think I actually will crack that one open.
And frame it.
And probably not, because I have the whole collection together, so.
Sorry, but back to the topic at hand.
Yes.
This is kind of what we expected, right? In fact, I think it's probably what I expected the last time. I think we were surprised that there was anything with quote-unquote no blockout dates. I think these blockout dates are fair. I think the most interesting thing to me, though, is the specification of, on the lower passes, 25% off at the Toy Story lot. Not just any lot. You have to go to Toy Story to get that discount. And that's a pretty nice perk until you realize that they're probably just going to hike parking up again, and then you'll be flat.
Yeah. That is interesting. So you're not good enough for the trams. You're good enough for a bus.
Yeah, so I think whatever the top two are, one of them is 50% off, and it's at select lots, which is basically, I think, means you can do Mickey and Friends or Pixar, and which I've never even seen Pixar yet because I haven't been to Disneyland in so long. And then obviously the top tier you get included parking at any these select lots.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, the only, listen, I get it. If you have an annual tradition of going to Disneyland on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve or whatever, like this is a real bummer. I do get that. The one thing where I'm like, it's all right is it's not like it's the only chance you get to see the holiday stuff. Like the holidays are up over a month before that. So you'll still have plenty of opportunity to do that stuff. But I get why that's disappointing. There's no longer a pass that you can go every single day of the year.
Yeah, but also, like we were saying, if you have a tradition of going on Christmas Day, then you can choose a lower pass and then just spend the $150 strategically on that one day that's really important to you if it's one of the ones that you're blocked out.
Yeah, so people have been waiting for the news. We got the news, whether you like it or not, that's how it is.
And as of recording, for all their warnings about things pausing, nothing seems to be paused yet. I think they're just issuing that decree in case they feel they need to make changes.
Yeah, I think they're trying to cover their butts wherever they can.
Yeah.
In any case, let's move on because this is some really weird, interesting news. Investor Daniel Loeb and his firm Third Point have reportedly purchased a significant stake in the Walt Disney Company. In turn, Loeb has sent a letter to Disney CEO Bob Chapek detailing some of his suggestions for the company. I wish I could do that. I guess I could. Nobody would read it, though. But in any case, Loeb suggests that Disney should explore spinning off ESPN into its own business. He writes, ESPN is a great business that currently generates significant free cash flow. Despite these advantages, we believe that a strong case can be made that the ESPN business should be spun off to shareholders with an appropriate debt load that will alleviate leverage at the parent company. I'm not sure I quite understand why he's saying this, but I don't know enough about ESPN to really have an opinion.
Yeah, I don't 100% know either, honestly, but I know it's a thing that people have talked about before, although it's usually referenced into people say that Disney should be divesting from ESPN because it had some hard years where all of the bad news was about ESPN, but he's kind of saying the opposite. He's saying that it's a strong business and that I guess that it can survive on its own, and I don't know.
And we've kind of seen that from Disney as well recently. Where didn't they recently raise the price of ESPN Plus, I believe? And
by a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so that must mean that ESPN's doing well. I mean, it's one of those things where I'm like, how can it not be? Everybody I feel like in the world except for me cares about sports. So I don't understand why it wouldn't be doing well. Obviously, I don't pay attention to the competition.
Well, it was before they had streaming. It was the linear aspect of it all. But now that they have streaming and that's, catching on, I think maybe that's what's helping that.
All right. Well, now let's move on to something we know more about, each of us. Additionally, Loeb states that the Hulu brand should be integrated into the Disney Plus streaming service and that Disney should attempt to acquire Comcast's share of Hulu sooner than the 2024 deadline to do so. Completely agree. I mean, they pretty much do this overseas already with that whole Star thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Disney Plus has parental controls now, there's no reason for Hulu content. We've actually seen with Love Victor on both platforms. So I think that it makes sense. I think it's only a matter of time. He seems to think so as well, but he just wants it faster.
I guess so, yeah. This one's like, wow, you're really going on a limb there, buddy.
Yeah.
So, see, they're listening to my demands. Yeah, well, anyone who pays any attention can be like, hey, yeah, these two things, the lines are blurring very quickly between them. But Disney insists that Hulu is a strong brand, and, doesn't seem to mention that, oh, yeah, and Comcast owns, part of it. So,
Yeah.
Can't just completely. They have 100% control, but not 100% ownership at this time.
So yeah, his Loeb's first 2 points, I'm very meh, whatever. It's this last point that I'm like, I don't know if I like you very much, sir. Because lastly, Loeb insists that Disney needs to better cut costs, stating Disney's costs are among the highest in the industry, and we believe Disney significantly under-earns relative to its potential. We urge the company to embark on a cost-cutting program that addresses both margins and the disposal of excess underperforming assets. Oh, I don't like that, Kyle.
Yeah, that's the first thing when I saw this headline, I put it into our Slack channel. I was like, yes, because the current Disney regime, all people talk about is how much they spend and how they really, really need to cut costs. That's the top complaint amongst Disney fans.
Yeah, this is a dangerous slippery slope. First of all, what it's saying is lay off a lot of people, which I don't like that sentiment. But on top of that, for me, I mean, the first thing I think when I read, he's basically saying you're spending more than you should be or need to be. The first thing I think is with Marvel films, I agree. I think Marvel film budgets could be considerably less and the films would make just as much money. So in the film department, I think the film industry in general way overspends. I don't like these sentiments for theme parks at all. And I don't think that they're true. I think even more should be invested in the theme parks domestically. When you see the stuff that's happening overseas, it's kind of embarrassing how much better it is a lot of the time. So, yeah, Mr. Loeb, I want to come on the show? We'll have a talk.
He doesn't really specify whether this is in general or about theme parks. And his other two things are about media. So he very well could be talking about the studio side of things. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, it's kind of it's also another one of those, oh, wow, you're really, really stretching there, being like, you should make more money and spend less money. You're like, wow, what a great budgeting tip, buddy. Thanks. I'm so glad to have you as an investor.
I read this article and I was like, nah, we're not gonna talk about it. And then I got to the last part, like, we're talking about this.
Fair enough. That's why I include everything. I never know what's going to strike your fancy.
I appreciate it, including this next story, which, as you said in your notes, you're like, not much of a story since it's very visual, but because it's Hocus Pocus 2 related, we should and need to talk about it. And of course, you can see the visuals at laughingplace.com. I'll include links in the show notes. But new photo backdrops debuted at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. And this year, there are 5 brand new photo backdrops featuring classic Magic Kingdom attractions as well as some perennial Halloween favorites. These include Hocus Pocus 2, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and Monsters, Inc. Interesting combo.
Interesting that they put the Mr. Toad one in Tomorrowland, because that's where... What I think of Mr. Toad, I think of Tomorrowland.
So, I mean, it's kind of interesting that they put Mr. Toad at all. Of course, there's the whole hell scene, but even more so, I don't know if people necessarily connect this, but Mr. Toad and Sleepy Hollow are connected because they were a package film release. Mm-hmm. So there is that. I just think the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is really, really interesting. Are they going to do a reboot of 20,000 Leagues or something? That seems out of nowhere.
Well, there is is it called Nautilus? Or something. I think it's being produced in France or whatever for Disney Plus. But there is like a 20,000 Leagues tie-in reboot thing coming. All right, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, did you look at the backdrops? They look pretty cool.
Yeah, no, they do look nice. They're definitely more than those VHS cover ones. They had like 90s night. These are way more. I know that those are cool.
How dare you?
I'm just
There was
commenting.
a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids VHS.
And I didn't say anything about it being bad. I just said that these were more intricate.
They are. Yeah, these look great. I think especially the Legend of Sleepy Hollow one is gorgeous. I'd say my second choice is Hocus Pocus 2. And of course, it's nice to see Hocus Pocus 2 stuff popping up. I will say that, did you see that we're having a lot of problems with the Hocus Pocus Villain Spectacular the first couple nights due to weather and technical problems and stuff. And I think even the Headless Horseman wasn't always part of the parade.
The Headless Horseman, it was just the first. I don't know about the Spectacular, but I know the first night was very rainy, so that canceled a lot of things, including Headless Horseman, and it had a shortened version of Spectacular. But I thought everything went well for the second party.
I heard Hocus Pocus had problems for a couple nights, but I could be mistaken. But regardless, that's just it's such a hard pill to swallow when you pay so much for those parties. And it's not like, I'll just go back tomorrow night, but it's live entertainment, right?
Yeah, but you don't want the horse to become glue when it slips on the rainy street.
Oh my God. That's horrible. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so maybe you should feel bad about being like, well, I didn't get to see the guy ride down the street.
Horses can ride in rain. It's fine. It's Florida. The horse is used to it, I'm sure. But cool. Anyway, that's a thing. And Kyle, do you know who has some pretty sweet Hocus Pocus and Halloween gear? That's right. It's Who's It's and What's It's with all of their magically inspired apparel. And how do you find Who's It's and What's It's? Funny you should ask me, Kyle, because it's so simple. Simply visit the Who's It's and What's It's link in this episode's description. And did you know that it's easy to save 15% off of your entire order from Who's It's and What's It's? All you need is the discount code. And that discount code is...
DCTC.
That's right. Super simple. Head to the Who's It's What's It's link in the episode description. Don't forget to use code DCTC for 15% off. And they do have some pretty sweet Halloween gear there. And you're supporting the show at the same time. So check it out. Last story for the day. This has already passed. I feel bad that they didn't announce this sooner, but I still feel like it's kind of random yet important to talk about. And that is the fact that the Wonderful World of Disney's Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella 25th anniversary celebration took place. This was that iconic TV movie starring Whitney Houston and Brandy, my beloved Bernadette Peters, and so many others. And this came out of left field, huh?
Yeah, I mean, this, like you're saying, this movie has really has a place in people's hearts, and it was a big deal when they brought it to Disney Plus not terribly long ago. But yeah, this is one of those, they don't announce 2020s very often, or I don't remember if this was actually a 2020, but yeah, these news specials just come out of nowhere, and it's kind of a shame that it wasn't a bigger produced thing. Do you know if it's on Disney Plus yet? I feel like this is the type of thing they would throw on there.
That was my question to you. I don't think they've announced anything about that, and that's another reason why I wanted to bring it up. Even though it's past, this has already happened. It aired on August 23rd, so this past Tuesday, and I have a feeling it'll end up on Disney Plus. They're doing a 2020 special reunion, and then they're showing the movie, which is on Disney Plus, as you mentioned. And it's interesting because, 25 years ago, first of all, I feel like it was very much a return of the wonderful world of Disney. I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel like it was at least the return of creating original content. It was right around the time of the Tower of Terror movie as well. So like they were putting money into producing content for the wonderful world of Disney as opposed to just repeating classics. And so I think that was kind of a big deal. The other thing was it was super ahead of its time, it feels like. Like this was the blind casting special of all specials. And I remember that actually being a topic of conversation and somewhat confusion at the time. It was like, wait a sec, how did Whoopi Goldberg and Victor Garber have that child? But it was a kind of ahead of its time in that way, and that is obviously a huge topic of discussion these days. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, maybe. I think maybe it just came out at the right time that people remember it. There was a different version of Cinderella, and I don't know about you, but Brandy, I was very much aware of her. I went to go see her when her first album came out at the Arizona State Fair, one of those like free concerts. So I love Brandy. I remember watching this. I think Jason Alexander's in it too, right?
Yes, he is.
So I watched Seinfeld, so that was fun to see him. And then, do you know any kids that of our age that didn't love Whoopi Goldberg? Like, she was just one of those like people that you'd see in like all of these different films, and just maybe because her name is Whoopi, like she has a cameo in like Little Rascals, and that was fun. So yeah, I definitely have a lot of good memories associated with this film. So I'm glad to see it making a comeback.
I actually just saw the woman who plays one of the Wicked stepsisters, the white woman. Forgive me, I forget her name, but I just saw her in the world premiere production of Mr. Holland's Opus, the musical, and I was like, "Is that?" And then I checked the program, and sure enough, it is. I was like, "That's great," and she still looks great. I must say, 25 years later, she's looking good. But any fans of the show The Good Place might enjoy this fun fact. The sets of the little European village and stuff that we see throughout the film, at the beginning of the film and stuff, that's all The Good Place from that hit show. And obviously, maybe not so obviously, it's also
starring Disney legend Kristen Bell.
Starring upcoming Disney legend Kristen Bell, exactly. And it was used for that in all the classic monster movies at Universal. So if you ever take the Universal Studios Hollywood studio tour these days, if you drive through Little Europe, which they usually do, that is very much the set of, the wonderful world of Disney's Cinderella. And every once in a while, you'll find a tour guide who is, around our age and very excited to state this, but it's pretty rare. But it's a fun little factoid. So enjoy that. I should also mention, we were celebrating it here on Disney Coast to Coast long before the 25th anniversary, back on episode 515. So you can hear us talk all about it there.
Also, I will say, if it does come to Disney Plus, I forget which other thing this happened to. They might end up sticking it like in the special features for the film itself. So if you hear that it's coming out and you can't find it, there's a chance it might be there.
Good note. I like it, Kyle. That's why I got you around. You're full of those good little ideas. Perfect. Kyle, that's going to do it for the news this week. Anything you want to add?
No, I'm going to be seeing you in person in a few weeks, getting real close.
Well, excellent, Kyle. I look forward to seeing you in person. I will personally introduce you to the Pixar parking lot, if that is something that's on your bucket list.
I mean, that does sound kind of fun.
I will walk over with you, my friend. But all right. So yes, next time we talk, it'll be very expo-centric as we prepare for that. So have a good one. I'll talk to you again in a couple weeks.
All right. Looking forward to it.
To read more about any and all of the stories you've heard here today, simply visit the show notes link in this episode's description. You've heard the news, and now I want to hear what you have to say about it. What do you think about the price increase for Disney Plus? Will you keep the current cost with added advertisements, or pay extra for an ad-free version? Share your thoughts on that or any other topics mentioned in today's episode. Call 818-860-2569 and you may just hear yourself on a future episode of Disney Coast to Coast. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Don't miss any future episodes by subscribing and following Disney with a Z, Coast to Coast, on your favorite podcast app. This episode has been executive produced by Robert Scontrino. Gain rewards like Robert, including access to never-before-heard episodes and live-stream Q&As, by visiting the Patreon link in this episode's description. And don't forget that I'll be matching 100% of your first month subscription to the charity True Colors United for all new patrons joining this month, August of 2022. Basically, anything you need can be found in this episode's description, from additional information and links discussed in this episode found in the show notes, to the DCTC hotline where you can leave a voicemail and be heard on a future episode, access to the show's official website, some free gifts from me to you, and so much more. So be sure to check out this episode's description. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. This podcast is part of the DePodcast Network. Learn more about this show, plus find more quality and entertaining podcasts at DePodcastNetwork.com. That's DEPodcastNetwork.com.